Hello, my internet friends, and welcome. I never liked Brendan Schaub ever since I saw him for the first time on The Ultimate Fighter talking crap about Kimbo Slice. I just always thought he was like a douchebag. Just watching his rise and fall has been nothing but enjoyable. So, I came across this clip a while back. I just want to see what you guys think about it. This is just a short clip from Podcast Cringe, but it involves Shane Gillis and his podcast. Let's take a listen.
So there aren't too many instances of Shane and Brendan being in public together, and I think this is really interesting because in terms of the Brogan comedians, these two guys are basically at completely opposite ends of the spectrum. On the one hand, we've got Brendan, who left the UFC to become a full-time podcaster and stand-up comedian. Well, he doesn't exactly do comedy. He kind of just stands there and says random words into the mic.
I'm so mad, bro.
And Matt and Shane actually discuss Brendan's meteoric rise to the worst comedian of all time, but I'll get to that a little bit later because on the other end of the Brogan spectrum, you've got the man himself, Shane Gillis, who looks to be the next big-time comedian. And like I've said in previous videos...
Who is actually funny. He's probably the funniest person in that whole group. Okay, maybe Mark Norman, but Shane Gillis is hella funny.
I find the dynamic between Shane and the Brogan comedy brats to be really interesting, mostly because I personally believe that Shane only puts up with them because they're buddies with Rogan as well.
Right.
But if you go back to 2019 when Shane was fired from SNL, he wasn't super close to Rogan and the brats yet, so I've managed to find a few clips of him discussing Brendan, especially in relation.
Mark Norman is pretty funny. Dude, Bert Kreischer, forget it. I don't know these other guys at all, but yeah.
To how much hate that he gets. So like I said, this was 2 years before Shane made his first appearance on JRE. Even though he's been friends with Rogan for a while, at that time he wasn't part of Rogan's inner circle. Right. Certainly not compared to nowadays where he's got a regular spot on JRE's Protect Our Parks podcast. So this all started when Shane stumbled upon the Fighter and the Kid subreddit and made an interesting discovery.
Oh, I was looking at Reddit. I was looking at the Fighter and the Kids Reddit.
Dude.
Hilarious.
Tough stuff.
But
bro.
while I was looking at it,
they're so funny.
They had a post about us.
For real?
For shit, yeah, dude. Shout out the homeless cats. And
hell yeah, dude.
Hilarious. It is very funny.
The dynamic's insane.
Looking down through the comments, and one of them just said, "Hi, Shane." And I was just like, "Oh, that's hilarious." It made me laugh.
Being like, I know you're gonna read this.
He's gonna read this. Yeah, it's really funny.
That's actually hilarious.
Yeah.
I always find it funny to hear about other comedians speaking publicly about Brendan and all the hate that he gets, but this was actually a pretty unique situation where Matt and Shane spoke pretty loosely and candidly about the Fighter and the Kids subreddit specifically. And just to give you some context before we go on, this is wild. At the time that this episode was recorded, the subreddit only had 14,000 members, but as of January 25th, 2024, it has 153,000 members, which is crazy. But yeah, like I said, this is a pretty rare find to hear Matt and Shane speaking about this because they surprisingly understand the details around why the subreddit was created in the first place. So I'll get to that in a moment, but first...
Listen, everybody thought that was funny, and just the whole evolution of that whole situation was pretty hilarious with Brendan Schaub just one pothole into the other. It's just insane.
Let's hear Matt and Shane's take on the subreddit itself.
Hell yeah.
That could be our fan base, dude.
Let's poach him.
You want to poach him?
I mean, I would. Yeah. We
Hell yeah.
I mean, dude, that whole subreddit is dedicated to just hating on that podcast.
Right.
And I know
I looked into it more.
You think they're razzing him?
There's definitely some real hate.
Yeah.
But there's also definitely like, this is funny.
Just razzing the guy.
Yeah.
Oh no, yeah, I don't think it's necessarily all bitter hatred.
Yeah.
But it's pretty much dedicated towards being like.
Yeah. They don't post like funny clips. They post just like him f***ing up.
I know.
Yeah.
That's what I was talking about last week. How it's funny now that that's a whole thing in and of itself. Like we're gonna meet every day and just completely f***ing try to tear this dude down. And and of course they're razzing him, but it's still like, dude. I'm looking at that being like, I would like to think I'd be able to take that day in and day out, but I would bend to the mob. I'd be like, I'll do whatever. Stop making fun of me.
Yes.
Right.
I would bend to that mob,
14,000 people. There's
They're homeless cats.
That's
That's an entire city dedicated.
They're called homeless cats.
I know,
dude.
because they made fun of. Yeah,
Beast, dude. I'm all in.
I'm all in.
Yeah, these guys get it. And that's what makes this so interesting to listen to because, again, this was over 4 years ago, and a lot of things have changed for Shane over that period of time, which I've documented on this channel recently, particularly with regard to Shane's appearances on Flagrant with Andrew Schultz. But we just heard them talking about how if they were in the same position, they would have caved to the mob and begged to be released from their grip, and that was only when there were 14,000 members. And in this next bit, Matt breaks down exactly why this all started in the first place, so let's hear from them first, and then I'll break it down even further.
I watched that whole incel documentary about
the guy that made that, a documentary about...
Yeah, so I know exactly
Schaub?
what's going on in that subreddit. So I watched that documentary, and then I went to the subreddit. I'm like, whoa, dude, there's like a whole space where you can just act this
whole subculture of these people.
There's like a small city worth
14,000, yeah.
A small city's worth of people, like a rural town's worth of people who are dedicated towards like watching your every move. The sin they're punishing him for is taking that like kind of elitist attitude towards his fan base.
Right.
He was kind of like, you guys
He's
are
always
losers.
douchey.
I'm f***ing killing it. They were like, dude, we'll hive mind make fun of you. It's like, dude, I would instantly cave.
Yeah.
I'm like, so I'll quit.
The internet's
You guys
undefeated, man.
I'm done.
When I first heard that clip, I thought to myself, finally someone gets it. Now, what I mean by that is, we often hear other comedians talking about the hate that Brendan gets, but they usually just refer to it in general terms and how it's really bad or that sucks for Brendan, blah, blah, blah. Basically just empty platitudes without going into much detail. But right there, we heard Matt actually acknowledging that it was Brendan who leaned into it, and that's what caused it to grow so quickly. Now,
Right.
Brendan isn't your average comedian. Well, he's nowhere near average. But what I mean is he's a former football player turned MMA fighter, so he probably doesn't see things the way most normal people do. If he feels like he's getting bullied, then he'll take it head on and not back down because that's just part of his DNA. He's a big dude, he's strong, he's a fighter. Yeah, I think you guys get the idea. So when some of his fans started calling him out for being an elitist snob, he didn't cave in and drop it or let it go like most comedians would. He didn't even ignore it like Papa Rogan seems to be so good at. No, Brendan went full steam ahead, continued to ridicule the growing backlash, kept reminding them how rich and famous he is, and that's what fueled the homeless cats, which he named himself.
Yeah.
Add to that the hours upon hours of Brendan acting like a tool or saying stupid stuff with his mouth full of nicotine pouches or kratom or whatever he chooses to stuff himself with on any particular day, and you've got a recipe for disaster, which is exactly how it turned out for him. So, to hear Matt and Shane break it down like that and explain how they fully understand what happened and why it happened, that just shows how aware they are of how powerful the internet can be if you push back too hard on your haters. I mean, look what's happening to Tom Segura right now.
Stop smashing Amazon's buy button and start getting Amazon to pay you instead.
To the blind eye, everything looks completely fine and normal, but in the background, him and his people are in full damage control. And if you think I'm exaggerating, just think to yourselves, why would a comedian, of all people, go and delete every tweet from October last year? If you don't know what I'm talking about, just a very brief overview. After Tom's airport meltdown where he went on a 2-day Twitter rant because he had to check his bag himself, he eventually deleted every tweet from that month.
True colors.
Not just the 2 days, the
True
whole
colors.
month. There was also that awkward moment recently when he refused to say how many cars he owned during an interview. So you can see how even with someone like Tom Segura, who is 100 times funnier than Brendan Schaub will ever be, there still is a line as to how far you can go when giving it back to your haters.
Yep, for sure.
Just quietly though, I was thinking about this the other day and I realized it was a possibility that I never brought up with you guys at the time. I don't know how I missed this, but do you think that maybe American Airlines launched some sort of legal action against Tom or sent him a cease and desist letter or something to that effect, and as part of a confidential agreement, he had to delete all those tweets? but instead he tried to mask it all behind smoke and mirrors and just deleted the whole month so that people wouldn't know exactly which tweet or group of tweets it was. If that's true, that would be pretty wild, huh? Because remember, American Airlines actually replied to his tweet at the time and called him out, but he basically just doubled down and told them to shut up. So, I don't know if that's what's happened. Again, I've got no evidence of this. I'm just speculating out loud with you guys. But I still personally believe it was an internal thing, like with his PR group, that happened within his actual team. Anyway, we've been listening to episode 160 of MSSP, but let's go back to episode 147, which was recorded just over 3 months earlier, when Brendan messed up badly by basically saying Rogan and Dana White are two bald men that he knows who have no trouble reeling in the ladies, even though Papa Rogan is married.
Yeah, this is the part I really want you guys to hear. Like, listen to this and you tell me what you think, and I'll end it right after this little clip right here.
Take a look.
Brennan Schaub lets it slip that Joe Rogan is cheating on his wife. That can't be real.
What's he say?
I don't know. I haven't watched it.
Dude.
Little World Star Hip Hop.
He's quickly becoming the persona non grata, dude.
Brennan Schaub said that, I don't know if this is true. If he said that he's cheating on his wife, that is
messed up.
Whoopsie.
Yeah.
Yeah, play the clip.
Well, all right.
I
don't know if you can hear it.
Listen, I know some bald dudes are slinging out there. Look at Dana White, Rogan. That's it. Look at Dana White, Rogan.
He said it.
That's it.
Slinging dick.
Whoopsie. How would he know he's slinging dick to his wife, dude? You know what I'm saying?
Maybe he's saying, like,
what married guy, like, yo, that dude's slinging dick to his wife and his wife alone.
You don't say
Maybe
that.
he's
That's not what you say.
saying he could.
Or he could be talking about stand up.
But as soon as
They're
he said
trying
it, you
to
could see his
cover it.
face like, oh.
I fucked up.
All you gotta do is say, oh, is that live?
What was he doing live? The Breakfast Club?
It was the Sting and I don't know. It was him and Theo Vaughn. Oof.
Probably, dude. It's probably a live video.
You just threw your.
But I mean, if he might have been talking about stand up. Sometimes say like he's out there slinging.
No, he
Dana
was
White.
not.
He's talking about bald guys that get.
Get pussy.
Oh.
Yeah. It's terrible.
Fuck.
What do you think?
Dude.
Yeah, so anyway, I could keep playing that if you want to, but what do you guys think? Did he just throw, I mean, honestly, it's a little bit older, but I mean, what do you think's happening there? You know what I mean? Is it something that maybe Rogan needs to address? That's pretty crazy. So let me know what you think. That's pretty much the part I wanted you guys to see. I'll be uploading another video just shitting on Brendan Schaub because it never gets old. But let me know what you think about that particular clip. I appreciate your time.